it's a great honor to serve the Lord. He has taken us imperfect as we are to do His perfect task.
What I have in me, I want to share it with other people. I think that's what keeps me going on this ministry.
This is First Person, and I'm Wayne Shepherd. Welcome to this week's program, where we'll meet a young couple who operate a Christian radio station in Albania. Theirs is a country who, until 20 years ago, was officially an atheist nation, but God seems to do His best work through a remnant, and today the gospel is being proclaimed in Albania. You'll meet Tani and Eftali Baraku in a moment. First, let me remind you that anytime you need additional information about the guests you hear on First Person, you can look us up online at firstpersoninterview.com. Links to our guests, a calendar of upcoming programs, and an archive of past programs is found there at firstpersoninterview.com. And you can respond with the email address you'll find online or by visiting our Facebook page. Just look for First Person on Facebook. Well, at a recent broadcasting conference in Romania, I had the privilege to meet people from several Balkan nations who came together for training and encouragement. And two of the people I met were a husband and wife who run a Christian radio station. They told me I could call them Tani and Eftali, but I began by asking them for their real names.
Well, my real name is Eftali Baraku, and my first name has a Greek origin. My grandparents decided to put me this name, and it means happiness or something like that.
Introduce your husband to me, Tani. I call him Tani. What is your name, Tani?
My name is Meritan, and it doesn't really mean anything. It's just a name from the communist time, I guess.
Mm-hmm. You come from Albania. Where in Albania?
We come from southeast Albania, from a town called Korça, which borders with Greece and with Macedonia.
Albania was a country where it wasn't just that Christianity was suppressed. There was no Christianity or any religion allowed of any kind, right?
I can say that there was no religion allowed for 50 years almost. All the religious objects, I can say, like the churches or cathedrals, were turned into army depots and or police departments. It has been hard for our country being out of any religion that other countries. We had problems. It was very hard for us to believe in God after that.
Because there was nothing allowed.
There was nothing allowed.
So when freedom came, and by the way, when did freedom come to Albania?
Freedom came, well, Albania was one of the last countries that got free from communism, and it's after this country here, Romania, in 90s. And I can say it's the only country left communist after in 90s that became a democracy. And in the 90s, the first missionaries came with Bibles and flyers, and that's where we got the opportunity to to hear the good news of God.
Eftali, how did that happen for you? I mean, how did you come to know the Lord when there had been nothing prior to the freedom that came to Albania?
I would like to say something before saying that, because I have Orthodox background.
Okay.
And as Tani said, it wasn't allowed by government, but still few people that were true followers of Christ or believed in the Lord, they kept the tradition.
There's always a remnant, isn't there?
Yeah. And one of them was my grandfather. So I would like to say that I heard first for God or Jesus through him. He used to tell things related to Bible, like Bible stories and things that were forbidden for that time. But that was the first step. I just had some knowledge. But later on I had the desire. I was so eager to know God more and more. That was my desire. And I just wanted to know people that knew the Bible or knew the Lord better. And also I felt in my heart that I wanted to serve the Lord better. I felt like my life was, I was wasting my life, and I wanted to do something different. I wanted to serve the Lord. And when I was in the first year of university, I started attending a group of Christians. And at that time, I got saved 9 years ago. And I heard that the radio station were looking for young people to start working there, and I applied there. And since then, I've been convinced that the Lord has called me for a special task, and I want to serve Him with all I have.
And Tani, understand that it was your father that first came to the Lord.
Yes.
And really became a pastor and an evangelist, quite well known.
He became a pastor and was one of the first Albanian pastors in his area, because, as you know, the church was the missionaries were leading the church.
Was it through YWAM that he came to the Lord?
I can say that they were the first. There were many people after them that kept feeding him with the word of Christ, but they were the first people that he met on the street, without knowing anything. And I remember, as he said, one of them told him that we love you, we care for you, and that broke his heart, coming from 50 years of communism, where I can literally say you're afraid of your own wife, because of the pressure and of the spies and everything.
So you couldn't even trust your own family.
You couldn't even trust your own family. And, of course, you never talked about love and stuff like that, because communism, as we know, is based on material. It's not based on... So that broke his heart. And he kept thinking about that. Who are these people? They come from a land we don't know, and they love us. How do they love us? But
that made such an impression on him. What was life like for him before freedom came?
He grew up, he had a hard life, I can say. He grew up in a family where he's with divorced parents, and he had a problem with his family. He had to leave. He worked in a town called Erseka, and it was hard. He used to eat once a day. That was hard, especially in the communist time. Imagine, I can say it's hard for an orphan on these days. Imagine back 40 years ago,
So this spiritual reformation in your family started with your father.
Started with my dad.
But it had to come to you and your heart. How did that happen?
It came to me. I was 8 at the time where I got saved, and I love God so much when I was a kid, and I still love God.
And serve Him, I might add. We'll talk about that.
And serve Him. First came my mother. She was Orthodox, just like Eftali, and she struggled a little because she thought, I know Jesus. But then she started reading the Bible with my dad, and she understood that she didn't know anything until she read the Bible and the Word of God. I was next to them, and I got baptized. I was literally sleeping in church because my room was the church where they used to have meetings. I was sleeping there, so I can say
it was literally a house church, wasn't it? It was a bedroom church.
A bedroom church. I remember people were happy. That's something I won't forget from my childhood. People were so happy. Was like an innocent happiness, They're happy. They found something, I don't know, peaceful. Something that they were missing for a long, long time.
It was joy.
It was joy.
Yeah.
It was joy.
Yeah. I understand then your father passed away. The Lord called him home while he was in America?
The Lord called him home when he was in the States 7 years ago during a prayer meeting. It was hard for us, I can say, because we had the church and the radio, and he was actually doing the work of 5 people. And it was hard for us when he passed away, because he had all this energy and commitment that we had to really pray and seek God to do what he what he was doing when he was still alive.
We'll talk about your ministry and the radio ministry that you have in Albania, which is remarkable to hear about. But Efti, I want to ask you, you said you started working at the radio station as a young Christian, and that's where you met this guy.
That's the place where I met Tani. We knew each other as friends for a year, and we had no intentions to date or anything like that. But I will mention the moment when we started dating, and it's very special because I had also a sad story in my family. After the first year of working in the radio station, my father passed away too. So it was really, really hard for me and my family. But at the time, all my friends were a great encouragement for me. Also, Tani's father, he was a pastor, and he knew the right words to comfort someone. And it was, let's say, the beginning of, after that, it was the beginning of our relationship because Tani was so close to me. And he used to share Bible verses that encouraged me. And that was the beginning of our story. We started dating each other to know each other better. And after 2 years, we got married.
And God's given you a son now.
Yeah, we have a son now. He's almost 3 years old, and we are blessed through him.
More from this committed couple of Radio Emmanuel in Albania coming up. Next time on First Person, we'll meet artist Ron DiCiani.
I remember at one point crying as I was painting. I believe I was painting Christ's face. I said to the Lord, if I don't stop crying, I'm not going to be able to finish this. And I really felt in my heart him say to me, that's okay, you're not painting it anyway.
Ron DiCiani's art honors Christ in all that he does, and you'll hear the story of his calling next time on First Person. Let's pick up where we left off with Tani and Eftali Baraku from Albania. Radio Emmanuel was started by Tani's father, and I asked him about his father's dream.
Well, his vision was to spread the gospel to places where to remote areas, because he was, as I said, he was an evangelizer. I can say even more than a pastor, he was an evangelizer, and he used to go out in remote areas with, I remember when I was a kid, with this big TV and 4 guys that were supposed to hold the TV with the Jesus movie in these steep mountains. Of course, I was lucky because I was a kid. I never got to carry anything.
Yeah. TVs were much heavier in those days, weren't they?
Much heavier in those days, especially in Albania. And he had this vision that he couldn't, even though he could do that forever, he couldn't reach as much as a media can reach, as the radio signal can reach. And that's why he got this, let's say, I can say call from God to start a radio. And that was in year 98, when he first started to get this vision, and was right after Albania. It was safe because a year ago we had a civil war. Mm-hmm. In Albania, so the country was very bad, and he had this dream of opening a Christian station.
I can't imagine what he had to go through to establish a radio station in a country that had almost no semblance of religion for so long.
No, almost nothing, and even for us was, I can say, it seemed like a joke in a way, because we're all laughing. Why do you want to waste your time on something is too expensive?
Yeah, it's father's crazy dream, huh?
Yeah, it's too. And of course, I didn't want him to get disappointed.
I bet you look differently at it now, though, don't you?
For sure. I'm glad he kept his vision.
Yeah, because today you operate that radio station.
Today I operate that radio station, and we started with 1 antenna at our building, and now we have 3 more.
Well, Eftali, tell me about the radio station. Who is it aimed at? Is it music, talk? What do you do on the radio station?
Well, actually, you're directing me the right question, because I deal with the programming.
Okay, you're the program person,
in the radio station, and we try to keep a balance between music and programming. We want to reach people through music, but also through messages and programs that are produced in our radio station, and others that are from pastors and people that have had a great impact in Christianity. We have received lots of feedback from our listeners, and they show us that these programs have given them something different, because they listen to radios, other TV stations, but they don't find the same hope that they receive from this radio station. And this is what makes us more alive, and we feel that our mission is for a reason. We have a calling for a reason. It's not for nothing.
Well, tell me if I'm wrong, but it seems like the Albanian people would have a sense of almost despair. After freedom, there must be some disappointment that things haven't, panned out for the country economically and other ways, even with freedom. So there must be this sense of disappointment.
People were looking for freedom, but they had a misconception about freedom. After freedom, there was a time of confusion, of transition. And people were disappointed because they didn't receive what they were looking for, because they thought that the world would be so open to them, but still people were afraid to interact with Albanians, because they came from a system that was so harsh and that made people look different or isolated, and people were looking for freedom, let's say, in wrong directions.
Yes, and we know there's so many opportunities now.
Yeah, we say in Albania that people accept more the bad things than the good things, and in Albania people didn't know to select between good and bad things, and most of the things they accepted and received were a bad influence to their life, and that's why they were disappointed.
I can see why the radio station that is so important and in people's lives, it gives them something to hope. It gives them God's word, eternal word. Tani, tell me about the response you get from listeners. What do they say about the radio ministry?
We get a lot of response. We had a guy that was calling us for almost a year, and it was just last year in our youth program. And he first started asking about Jesus during the program. He's first, out of curiosity, making question to our DJ and the studio speaker. Then he ended up calling for support. He was supporting what they were saying and praising God in the same time. He said that he was working, because he called for such a long time, he said that he was working in a jail as a correction officer. Well, just a few months ago, he stopped calling us on the radio, and we received this letter from him. And we were all amazed. He wasn't a correction officer. He was doing his time.
He was the prisoner.
And he was so ashamed from his past life that he couldn't tell us, but he said that God brought him to this light, and now it's over. He's a new man, and we're so happy. We're happy to listen to stories like this more than buying a new building, let's say, buying a satellite antenna.
All the technology is one thing, but it's the power of the word that even penetrates those prison walls.
And we've been delivering pre-tuned radios with our station to the jail, and we're happy that people from there are calling, and I can say that God can save everybody.
Yeah. We have time for one more listener story, if you have it.
We have a girl from another town close by our city in Erseka. She used to listen to our program. She lives in this remote village where I can say the culture changes with the parents, where they don't allow girls to go out or use the internet. But she called in the radio last year. I can say, it was last year. She called on the radio. she was listening to my dad's program. Now my father has this preaching ministry all on CDs.
So
And we're still
it continues
playing.
even though he's with the Lord.
It continues, and it seems like he's behind the microphone, when you're listening to the radio.
So she thought he was really still alive.
So she thought he was alive, and she called on the phone and she said, "Where is Pastor Chimi? And what time do you have the meetings? I really want to meet him because I want to get a Bible and I want to come to church because I'm listening to you guys all the time talking about God, and I'm anxious to meet you." Well, of course, we have to break it up to her.
She can see him, but she may have to wait a while, huh?
Yeah, saying that. But we're glad because now she goes to church on her home, in her Seika, in an evangelical church.
Uh-huh.
And she serves there. We're happy.
Amazing.
We're very happy.
Let me ask you in closing, why do you do what you do?
You know, I can say... first, I'm sorry for my English, because
we have no problem understanding you. Believe me, it's well done.
I do this because God gave me hope in my life many times, and I've seen not only me, my wife, and all my family. God gave me hope, and He has taken me. He has accepted me many times, even though I've done mistakes. And I'm a happy man. I can say even though I have problems like everybody else, I'm still happy because I have God in my heart. And what I have in me, I want to share it with other people. I think that's what keeps me going on this ministry.
Efti, how about you? What motivates you to serve Christ through radio in Albania?
Well, radio is my passion, but it's not only the only reason why I serve in the radio station. When I'm out of the radio station or when I do something else, I'm not in peace. Because recently I tried to do something else, but I didn't feel at peace. And when I do what the Lord has called me to do, I feel at peace. But also it's a great honor to serve the Lord, because He has taken us imperfect as we are to do His perfect task. He has chosen and He has accepted us to do something that is great, is amazing, is beyond our understanding. So I'm happy to do my little task, let's say, for His kingdom and for His glory. But also I want other people to receive His message and to have the hope and peace that I have. That comes only through Jesus Christ.
To me, it was amazing to hear how God, through Tani's father, raised up this ministry and then called this young couple to not only maintain it, but expand it and dream even greater dreams for reaching Albania for Christ. Their story inspires me to want to be even more faithful in following God. Well, I've placed additional information about Radio Emmanuel on our website, and I hope you'll pray and support them as they do God's work through radio. Online, we're found at firstpersoninterview.com. Next week, we're back in the studio to talk with artist Ron DiCiani. Ron is a gifted painter who has quite a story to tell of his calling in the art world as a way of communicating God's truth, and you'll hear him tell it next time here on First Person. With thanks to my producer and friend Joe Carlson, I'm Wayne Shepherd, hoping you'll join us next week at this time for First Person.